So when it comes to buying a piece of land, it doesn't matter if you're going to build on it now or build on it in the future. These are the 7 things that you want to make sure you get when you purchase that piece of property. Number 1 is a survey, which is pretty obvious. You want to make sure you get a survey on the property. You want to know where the points are, whether it be 4 points, 6 points, 8 points. I've seen property shaped like a stop sign, believe it or not. But most importantly, you want to know where are the meets and bounds, how much road frontage, and is anyone encroaching upon that property? You want to make sure you have a survey on that property. Most properties have a survey and they're recorded and they're at the courthouse. However, that can be an old survey, so it's not uncommon and it's quite okay to ask the seller to pay for you a new survey. And of course, if you're selling a property, one thing that you can do to make it advantageous for a buyer to buy your property is to go ahead and pay the money to get a survey on the property. And it's going to range anywhere from $400 to $1,200, but it really just depends on how big the property is, how wooded the property is, because you got to think a surveyor's got to trek through woods. So if you got 10 acres of land and it's covered in woods, they're going to have to trek through all of those woods and ticks and chiggers and everything else to find the meets and bounds and the pins on that property. Now, number 2, and this one's simple, you want to walk the property. I mean, as much as every square foot of the property. Get out there and walk it. Get out there and walk it on a rainy day. Go to the property after you've had a lot of rain. Find, is there any spots on the property holding water? And just become one with the property. You want to be familiarized with the property. Where are the lows? Where are the highs? Get down, squat down, look at the topography of the land. Number 3, you want to talk to neighbors. It's okay to walk across the street or walk next door or find who owns the adjoining properties. There's an app that I use called LandGlide. LandGlide is a little app that you pay just 10 or 12 bucks for, but what's really cool about that is you can have the app on your phone, you can put in the property address, or you can be physically at the property and it will ping your location and you can see the subject property that you're looking to purchase. You can also just tap the screen and it will show you the name and all the information of the people that own the adjoining property. Now, the 4th one is pretty much overlooked by a lot of people, especially if you're inland, as I call it. So in other words, if you don't live on the Gulf Coast, if you don't live up north around Nantucket, you're not south, you're not Florida, you're not Louisiana, you're not on the Gulf Coast, you need to make sure, even though you're inland, that the property's not in a flood zone. And look, it's okay if a property's in a flood zone. There's different flood zones. There's A, B, C, and X, and different variations of A. But you want to make sure that that property, if all possible, it's in X. It's okay if it's in A or B, but you have to know that going in when you make an offer on the property, because if a property's in flood zone A, chances are within the next 30 to 40 years, that land is going to take on a little bit of water. So you just have to know that going in. It may be a certain spot on the property that's not in A, maybe the backside of the property is in A, but most importantly, you want to make sure and do your due diligence and find out what exactly is the flood zone, if any at all, on the property that you're looking to purchase. Now, when it comes to buying a piece of land, and it doesn't matter if it's land or house or anything, I always tell people you want to make sure that you do a title search on the property. The purpose of the title search is to make sure there's no back taxes, liens, encumbrances, or anything on the property. No one's put anything on that property. So when you buy that property, where you get a mortgage on that property, whether you borrow money from the bank on the property, or whether or not you're paying cash for the property, a title policy will ensure you that the property is free and clear and that there's no back taxes, liens, or encumbrances on the property. So once you purchase it, it's your property. And it also gives you a title policy. You want to make sure you have a title policy. If you have a title policy, someone comes knocking on your door and says, hey, I did dozer work on that property, I cut down trees on that property, you owe me $5,000. You can be like, no, dude, I got a title policy. Title is clear. I don't owe you anything. You can go after whoever hired you, but as far as me and my land, I own it, tough. Now, here's another thing, and it's pretty obvious. Can the property be connected to city water, city sewer? If not, you're going to have to do what they call a septic tank or a treatment plant, right? And they're pretty much one and the same. It's just a matter of how they work. However, you have to know that if you're going to put a septic tank on that property has to perk. So what happens is a lot of states inland have a lot of rock in their land. And if you have a lot of rock in your land, then that property has to perk. And perk meaning like a coffee maker in percolation, that soil has to absorb the water that's going through those field lines. So it comes out of your house, it goes through the field lines, and it has to go down into the earth. And if it cannot absorb so many parts per million into the earth, then it won't perk. And if it won't perk, they will not give you a permit to put a septic tank. So there's properties out there that are absolutely beautiful. They may be in a specific subdivision or neighborhood and like, wow, that's a beautiful piece of property, but there's no city sewer. You have to put a septic tank in, and as a result, the property won't perk. So if you were to buy that piece of property, like, wow, I can get a deal on that property for $12,000. It's a beautiful piece of land. But if it will not perk and you can't put a septic system in, you physically have to wait until they come with sewer down the street to be able to tap into the sewer lines. So you can see how the desirability of that lot, you can't build on it. It basically is just a park. You can go play ball and hang out, but you can't put a structure on it because you can't put plumbing in it. But look, like anything, when you go to buy a piece of real estate, do your due diligence. You can check out mortgage companies, you can go to banks. Typically, it only takes you 10% down, and no, your property does not have to be paid for in order for you to build on that property. You can put 10% down on that property. You can also take your plans to a bank or a local credit union and show them your house plans along with the property and say, look, I want to build this property, and ask about a construction perm loan. A construction perm loan is when you physically say, I have this property, I have a little bit of cash, I want to get the process started. They will loan you the money to do the construction on the property. They will do a before appraised value and an after appraised value. And it's quite simple. They will allow you to build the house. You can build your own home. You have your land. They will loan you the money to build it. They will give it to you in what they call draws, and typically those come in increments of 5. And once you pull all of the draws and the house is finished and completed and you've had all of your inspections done, you can go to the bank and say, we're ready to close. It's done. At that point, they'll send out an appraiser. So they've done a before appraised value to loan you the money. Now they're going to do an after appraised value. They're going to confirm that the property was built to its specifications based on what you told the bank before you started building. And once that's all done, they will give you a 15 or a 30-year mortgage at a fixed rate. You've built your own house. You've had construction money to do so, but now you're closing on that loan, closing on that construction loan, and creating what they call a permanent loan. So thus it's called a construction perm loan. So listen, I hope this helps. I hope this video helps. I've been selling real estate, doing broker and selling, flipping for 30 years, and I want to do anything that we can to help consumers like yourself. If you have an interest in buying, flipping, owning, building, you name it, we're here to help. Thanks for watching.